All right, we're back here on the Chase Thomas podcast, where I'm now joined by the next head football coach here at Oak Ridge. The Oak Ridge Wildcats. Scott Cummings is here on this very program. Scott, good afternoon, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. It's interesting. I talked to so many different high school coaches across Georgia and Tennessee, and um, it's always more. I shouldn't say more. It's interesting to get a perspective from someone who coached somewhere else in the fall and is going into a new program at this point in the spring, and you're still getting acclimated and learning the roster and going through film from last year and what you saw. And I'm just curious, where are you at right now? Do you feel like you have a good handle at this point here in the middle of May on who your team is and where your team's going based on spring ball and what you saw last year?
Yeah, I, I mean, I definitely think I have a lot better handle on things now than I did, before spring practice started.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of positives and we also have a lot of negatives right now, and it's up to us as coaches to, try to figure out how to turn those negatives into positives, and take our positives and which for in our case is having a plethora of skill position players. Probably the best overall skill set at receivers and running backs and DBs I've ever had in my career. So,
Hmm.
we got to figure out different ways to get them the ball and try to get them the ball in space the best we can and let them go to work for us.
What makes them special? What makes it the best you've ever coached?
If we'll just drop some names, I guess, is the easiest way to do that. I mean, it probably starts with Brandon Heyward. He's a 2024 graduate kid, so
Mm.
just a sophomore right now, and he's a four star receiver. With offers all over Eastern United States, really, to Arkansas, to South Carolina, Tennessee, got Mississippi State last week, Cincinnati, etc. So even though he's just going to be a junior next year, he has proven himself to really be a great leader on this team. I mean, he's vocal enough, but yet humble, and I'm just really proud of where he's at mentally. Having all this success and all these offers and all this stuff, but yet in practice he's the hardest working guy there, and he tries to get other guys to come along with him. So very proud of him. But so he's obviously a special guy. He's just special. He's got that different junk to him. That you're just born with or not really.
Mm.
He just works hard enough to continue to grow on it. But we have other guys too. I mean, Elijah Rogers, going to be a senior next year. He's long. He's six 6'1". My light just went out. A 6'1" corner, defensive back. Really, he can play whatever it is he chooses to play. To be honest
Mm.
with you, he'll start on defense and be in the rotation and receiver on offense. And there's Jai Hunley. A very versatile running back / slot. We'll play him in the backfield and in the slot. Elijah, by the way, has several offers right now too. Mostly FCS stuff, but still growing from it, and we'll see where he lands. And Jai's got several FCS offers, and then the academies, because he's a 4.1 GPA student.
Oh, wow.
Just really excited about his diversity, how he can do a lot of different things on the offensive side of the ball. We've got at linebacker a kid that'll be a senior next year, Brian Kelly,
Mm.
that I think's got a chance to go on and play somewhere too. Good, he's fast, got a big weight room kid. He's jacked up, and there's several of them in our sophomore class, along with Brandon Heyward. fortunately, my son Connor Cummings is pretty good in his own right and has a chance. And Almonty Rembert, another sophomore that's a very explosive kid, in the weight room one day just messing around, did a one-legged 48-inch box jump. Um,
I don't think I can do that.
With Crocs on, by the way.
Oh my goodness.
So he's just a special talent too, and so there's a bunch of them. Our struggle right now is we gotta develop some offensive and defensive linemen. We're just short there a little bit. We just don't have the numbers there and the size there, so but we got some good kids though that I think will let us kind of beat them into being serviceable, good high school linemen. But that's going to take some time for sure.
Interesting. What have you found going through spring workouts? And I know y'all we're getting out there this week, but what have you found is the most difficult concept going from Coach Gaddis's scheme last year to what you're implementing? Has there been one constant thing you found that kids are struggling with a little bit more, or are like, oh, this is interesting?
Yeah, it is interesting because there's some good coaches here last year. Coach Gaddis is a legendary guy in this area, and he had some good coaches around him and whatnot. But we're all different. What I choose to do on offense, as far as terminology and the system, is different than what they were doing, and I do require the kids to know the complete concept, not just their job, because I think it just helps them in the long run do their job better when they understand the guy next to them. Like instead of telling the receiver, "Oh, you run a slant right here," I want to tell them, "Hey, you run a slant right here, but from the slot, but the wide receiver, the X next to you, outside of you, here's what he's doing," and I want you to know very well the total big picture. So you're precise and you run your route the way you're supposed to, because it could interfere with his and what he's trying to do. So there's probably a little bit more of that type of thing, like just trying to get their football IQs up a little bit. And that's not to say that anybody else, that I'm right and somebody else is wrong. It's just that we're just different in ways. Anytime you're new coming in somewhere, and in our case, there's going to be 7 of us new here. There's 3 coaches from the previous staff here, and that's it. The rest of us are going to be all new. So, right now we're still, I'm still coaching the coaches so they can coach the kids, and
yeah,
and that's on both sides of the ball. Robert Ayers, longtime NFL football players, our defensive coordinator, but like he'd be the first one to sit here and tell you, just because he played in the NFL for 10 years doesn't mean that he's going to be that he's a great coach. So, just working through how we go about our business and how we teach kids, and on top of that, getting our schemes in, and we're totally revamping, changing the whole strength and conditioning program. It's pretty much everything across the board, to be honest with you.
Well, man, I just went through this whole schedule last year. I was at every Oak Ridge game, taking notes, getting a feel for them, and understanding where they were building towards. And then you come in, and then everything's different. So this fall, I'm scrapping everything that I learned last year, Coach. So I'm excited about that. So what drew you originally to the Oak Ridge job from Halls?
Gosh, it's Oak Ridge, honestly. I mean, like, I was at Halls the last 3 years, and before that, I was at Cleveland High School for 4 seasons, but before that, I was at West High School for 16 years, and 13 of those as the head coach. So, the truth is, I'm really not a move around kind of guy at all. It's just kind of been my life in recent years a little bit, and fortunately, fortunately, I am lucky enough to have opportunities, and for whatever reasons. And when Dr. Adams, our principal here at Oak Ridge High School, when he called and asked, well, didn't really ask me. He told me that we needed to talk.
Hmm.
Um, because I've known him for a long time. He actually coached for me for 3 years when I very first started at West High School.
Oh, wow.
So, so we do go way back. We've been out of touch for a number of years, and he's kind of went his separate way from coaching, to administration and all that. But from afar, you always have respected. I have, and most people have Oak Ridge because of the school system. Is a great school system in this area. I could argue that it's the best school system,
Hmm.
honestly. So, and they put their money where their mouth is with the schools. Oak Ridge is just an incredible physical building.
Hmm.
It's so nice and just, and I do have a son that's here with me now. So I want to make sure to put him in the best situation I could too. And so everything pointed to Oak Ridge. I mean, from the pay, obviously, make a little bit more money,
Hmm.
but also just the tradition of Blankenship and field and,
It's a
you
gorgeous
know,
field.
walking down those stairs, the 72 stairs to glory, I think is what
Hmm.
72, I think, or 74. I'll learn
Oh,
for
you got to nail
sure.
this down before opening weekend, sir. You got to nail it
Yeah,
down, coach.
exactly. Uh, but facilities are good and getting better every day.
Hmm.
Like right now, right outside my office here, they're out there working on the practice field and the track.
Okay.
Totally redoing everything out there. It's going to be super nice. Like,
Hmm.
we'll have a misting station for football players, and you know,
Hmm.
um, there's a lot of cool stuff for track going to be out there too. A new steeplechase event thing, and they're going to second phase is put in a jumbotron. Who has a jumbotron at the track?
Oh,
Well, at Oak Ridge you do.
yeah.
So, like everything here is just bigger and better. I guess it's kind of like Texas, right? Well, they say they do everything bigger in Texas. Well, here at Oak Ridge, I think we're kind of like that. We're just going to do everything a little bit better and a little bit bigger than everybody else, and I want to be a part of that.
I like it. I like it. What has been the biggest lesson you've learned in coaching to this point in your career?
It's funny. Like, when I first started at West High School, this is probably going to not answer it exactly, but when I first started at West High School, there was really no culture there, and football was not winning, or whatever. And so to establish what we did there was just our culture. There was
Hmm.
no the previous culture, if you will, was just kind of non existent,
Hmm.
is the truth. Um, so now everything they identify by in the community is things that we kind of created. The logo that they use, we created that, like the field house, the weight room, everything there that we created, and so that situation, though, my point is different from Cleveland situation.
Hmm.
You know, there's the dynamics. No matter where you're at, I've learned are different. There's no one just magical formula to success. You gotta, and I've learned some of it the hard way too. You kind of gotta dive into the inner workings of where you're at and try to expand on those traditions, but keeping the traditions, or you got to kind of find out the dynamics of each place on their own merits and see how you can foster those. But as far as just on the field, I learned a long time ago I got to be who I am, um, and sometimes that can rub people the wrong way, or sometimes people love it, but I
Hmm.
got to be who I am, and that's just kind of this, you know, guy fiery guy that just, is that just coaches one way, and
Mm-hmm.
that's to try to outwork everybody else, and to be very passionate about what we're doing, and grind, just grind,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually at the end of the day you turn around and you're like, man, we've gotten a lot better because of the grind, and that you cannot replace. There's no shortcutting that side of it to be successful.
Do you find that you've had that, generally speaking, year to year, and this is something that's so unique to high school football generally, but that you have to throw out a lot of your scheme and your installs year over year, depending on what you lose, what you have in front of you, and just maximizing the guys that you have in your area. Do you do that more often than not? Have you in the past? Are you comfortable that you're going to be able to get the installs in this summer that you
Yeah.
want to do with the current roster that you got?
Well, I'd be lying to you if I said that spring went has gone as fast as I would like for it to, as far as our progression.
Mm-hmm.
We have not been able to progress as far as I would like to have coming out of spring. Um, there's multiple reasons for that. Like, I've never had this many kids in track and baseball combined. I mean, we've had a slew. Of, anywhere I've ever been in this, in you have a few track kids here and there, but nothing like this. I mean, we've had a lot of our skill guys, not being either at practice at all, or if they're at practice, they're in shorts, t-shirt, and a helmet, and they're mainly
Mm-hmm.
just watching and trying to learn. And the truth is, they're really not doing that. The best practice is by repetition,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not getting those reps. So when we have started slowly getting some guys back, when baseball ended a couple of days ago, and the kids that didn't qualify for sectionals or state now in track got some of those back, but now they're so far behind the other guys that we're having to try to go back and reteach, or just throw them into the fire a little bit. And it's not a bad thing that they're running track in baseball. That's a good thing. I believe in a two sport player. My
Mm-hmm.
own sons play two sports, so but it's just factual. There's no way around it that they're behind, and we can't slow down for them now, and it's been a little frustrating. But there's certain principles in our offense and defense that we're just going to hang our hat on and
Mm-hmm.
say this is who we're going to be, and we're not changing that. Now, but there's also other things where we're going to be pretty small up front on the offensive
Mm-hmm.
line, for example. So within the offense and within our system, there's going to be certain series of plays. Certain series is how our system's set up. There's going to be certain series that we're going to have to not hang our hat on as much as other series in the offense. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And defensively, Robert Ayers, wants to. We're going to be a base 3-4 defense, but the way he chooses and would like to play
Mm-hmm.
is with three big linemen. And the way I've played it in the past is with only two big linemen and one smaller one. Then we slant a lot to
Hmm.
one side or the other. So,
Yeah.
and what we're going to have to work through now that we're ending spring practice is, do we have the kids, for his style, or do we need to step back and say, we need to reevaluate this, and we're going to have to be more slanting front,
Mm-hmm.
than maybe we're comfortable with. So, offensively, we're going to be 50-50 tight end, no tight end scheme schematically, but we'll run a lot of triple option out of gun, set up our shot passing plays with that, but get the ball in and out of the quarterback's hand and try to get it out to some of these dudes the best we can. Um, we're not going to change that side of it. Now, some of the intricacies, like, will we hang our hat more on power
Mm-hmm.
counter stuff, ISOs, or are we going to truly be an inside zone read team and run a triple out of it as our, hang our hat more on that? I don't know. That's yet to be seen truthfully, but we're going to sit down next week as a staff and reevaluate some things we've learned and go from there.
What have you found Peyton Sharp is more comfortable with? Is there one at this point that you think would benefit his skill set the most?
Yeah, for sure. We've got 3 kids repping quarterback equally right now.
Okay.
Peyton Sharp, Nehemiah, Elmore, and Ethan Garza.
So it's a fully open competition at the moment.
Absolutely. Fully, very much so. As a matter of fact, Peyton's probably got a few lesser reps than them because he's also been factoring in and playing safety in the spring. We won't play kids both ways a lot. If you're a 1 on one side, you can be a 2 on the other. And so once we figure out if Peyton's the guy at quarterback, then he won't play defense at all.
Right.
But in the spring, till we figure it out, wanted him to learn both the best we could. But Peyton's a runner. Peyton could run, pretty well. So for him, being a lot of the midline or inside zone read triple option stuff fits him pretty good. So does it Nehemiah Elmore. Ethan Garza can do it a little bit, but his more forte is getting the ball in and out of his hand quickly. So it's yet to be determined, and right now it's still wide open going into the summer.
Is there one game that you've got circled on the calendar that you're most excited for this fall?
Man, I'm sitting here looking at it right now. This schedule is brutal.
Which stretch is the most brutal for you?
I tell Joe Gaddis all the time, like, dude, how you do this to me? My first year, Clinton week 3 is a big one around here, and they got some guys that now. They're going to be a much improved team. I mean, they're going to be pretty good, I think. Obviously, Powell week 6 is a big one, but for us being the first year, I'd have to say game 1, South Dole. They're going to have a new coach. I'm a new coach here. So it's going to be about which one can get their kids to execute the best right off the bat.
Yeah, and then you got Carnes, obviously, with Sean Bishop, and that's fun. I watched that up close. That's just he's a cheat code, man.
We beat them last year at Halls, but we had to outscore them.
Yeah, it's a foot race. You're going to be going back and forth in that one. Is there a favorite cheat meal for you, Coach? On non-football, what do you like? What do you have a favorite cheat meal?
Meal?
Yeah,
man.
Is it Big Ed's?
I would have to say, if I first of all, I cheat a lot. If you see my belly, but if I was going to have just one meal that I'm cheating like a dog.
Yeah.
Then it's going to be breakfast and get some good old biscuits and gravy.
Okay. Do you have a good spot, or you make it yourself?
Nah, man, I got lots of spots for biscuits and gravy. All
right. Well, I'm over here in downtown North Knox. Where do you got?
A fast food place, I can tell you that.
Well, where do you got for me?
I like the dives.
Yeah. Well, what do you got for me? I'm open.
Western Avenue called Tracy's.
Tracy's.
Just Tracy's restaurant. Just a little dive in a strip mall there. It's good biscuits and gravy there.
I like it.
Yeah.
You get a day off, Coach. I know spring and summer it's ramping up, so those days off and not having to think about football are long behind you. But in between that time, like post regular season, work at spring ball is still ways away. You get an off day. You can go do whatever you want. What do you do? Do you go fishing? Do you go hunting? Do you go to the lake, ride a jet ski? What would you do? Coach?
It's interesting you say that because my kids are getting older now, and I used to play golf a lot. And when my second son came along, and they both started, I had 2 sons that played. Each one of them played 2 sports each. So I got one that was a basketball and footballer, Connor, who's with me now here at Oak Ridge. And then my other son's a footballer and baseballer. Plus, with my schedule, I just said the heck with it, and I gave up on playing golf. I haven't played golf but 1 or 2 times a year in the last probably 10 years.
Were you able to go to the driving range, though, at all?
But no, I ain't doing that. So all that does is make me tired. So I'm really wanting to get back into golf. I think
Mm,
I got one son that's graduating now. He graduates this at the end of the month, and in a couple, well, in another week, and then he's going off to Tennessee Tech to school. And I'll have my other son that's here with me. Be a junior, but he drives now, and
mm,
he don't need me anymore to load him around. But
mm.
so I'm getting ready to have more personal freedom when I do have free time, and I think my goal is to get back into golf, and it probably help my waistline too.
There you go. I like it. What's the hardest part about coaching your son? That's an interesting fine line. My dad did it a lot growing up, but it's tough, man. I imagine it's even tougher for you.
It's way different in high school
Mm,
because I'm telling you, like last year, my older son was our quarterback, and
mm,
I stay out of those conversations. I when we would talk about players, when his name was Caden, when
mm,
his name came up in our talks, I would sit there, and everything. But I even told the coaches, hey, I'm going to dismiss myself from this conversation. I want you guys to have an open and honest conversation about that without my input.
mm.
And so, it's one of those made that decision to start him at quarterback, and um, and now with Connor, um, it's kind of a no-brainer kind of thing.
Mm,
Um, he's pretty good. I mean, he Caden had to work hard at it, but he
mm,
did. Connor, he works pretty hard at it, but it really comes natural to him. He's at 5'8" in the eighth grade. He could jump and hang on the rim.
oh wow.
Yeah, so he's a basketballer and footballer, and fortunately, he's pretty good.
Mm,
Yesterday at our spring showcase, we called it.
mm,
He had two interceptions on his own yesterday. So I mean, he's pretty good on his own. So there's not much conversation really to be had.
mm,
But I still remove myself.
mm.
But our receivers coach and our defensive coaches are all vying for him, to play more on their side of the ball. So
Mm.
I just sit there and listen. But I think
Does he want to do both? Is he all about the both
yeah,
sides?
he does. I think his primary position, like last year at
Mm,
Halls, will be corner. He'll
mm.
start at corner, it looks like, and then be in the rotation at receiver. Him and Elijah Rogers will
Okay.
probably both start on defense, but then split the offensive receiver position so they're staying fresh on defense all the time.
That's a good spot to be in, though.
It is a good spot to be in because, at the other receiver positions, I got Brandon Heyward and
Exactly.
Almonte Rogers and whoever else. So, as long as we don't have an injury bug, we can
Mm.
keep doing that. Too, Jai Hunley will play out in the slot also some. So it's a good situation. Connor would probably tell you he'd like to play receiver more,
Mm.
but, it's like I got to get all these kids to understand, when you've got talent like we do at those skill positions, you're going to have to understand that it's got to truly be about the team,
Mm.
and you might not get to do everything you want to do all the time.
Well, it's also just interesting because it's two totally different mindsets with corner and receiver. Where part of the like, if you're a good receiver, you're gonna be in the highlights. You're gonna be the all the attention is right there. If you're a lockdown corner, you're just not getting
Yeah.
challenged. They're not throwing your side of the way at all. Like that's how you're doing well is when you're not getting any attention at all.
Well, he's pretty good in his own right,
Mm.
in coverage.
Is he more
And
press man or is he more zone?
it doesn't matter really, but he knows zone best. I mean, it's just
Mm-hmm.
we have been in my past, and I believe in zone. Even I think the better the athletes you are, the more you need to play zone, which so
Hmm.
many people think oppositely.
Yeah.
Um, but if you're a great athlete and you play zone coverage, then you get your reads and you can be even faster inserting yourself into run support.
Hmm.
And it's that run support side of it that you lose by playing so much man. Somebody runs, a perimeter play and it bounces on the box defense, then if you're in man and, they're running you off and then ripping inside and blocking you, and versus if you're in zone, you're seeing that and you can trigger
Hmm.
on it and try to defeat the stop block faster. Um, but
That's interesting. I had not heard that before.
and a great athlete, I think in zone can be more of a factor
Hmm.
than in man. You take a lesser athlete and teach him great technique, I think he can still play man with technique. It ain't always what people think, about, oh, I need a kid that can flip his hips and all the crap you hear all the time. It's like, it's high school football. You got who you got, brother. But,
No transfer portal, really.
no, even though it's getting closer and closer to that with all the recruiting going on around here, but this
Mm.
area now. Uh, I think in zone, I think Elijah Rogers is going to be an animal now
Mm.
playing zone coverage. I just think I watched film last year and he's in man, they're soft man all the time, and like he wasn't really as much of a run support guy.
Mm.
But I think him playing zone, he's going to be a beast to try to throw against him, and then he's also going to be a beast when he gets his keys and triggers on run support. He's a physical dude
Mm.
with a chip on his shoulder, and so why not use that more in run support to help your defense?
I like that. I like that. Coach, we'll end on this. How did the good folks support you guys and what you got going on this summer? Anything pressing ahead of this fall football season over there at Oak Ridge that they can support the Oak Ridge Wildcats?
Yeah, we got a lot of projects going on. It's like I'm sitting here in my office looking at a 65-inch big screen TV, and we're changing the coach's locker room into a position player meeting room, changing another office downstairs to another position player meeting room. We're wanting to totally revamp the weight room.
Mm.
So there's a lot of projects, and if somebody wants to be involved in somehow, obviously everything takes money, and but if anybody's able and willing to help in those ways, it's always good, But other than that, really, I'll tell you the biggest thing, and I'll get off of here, is we got to reinvent ourselves in Oak Ridge.
Mm.
We got to reinvent not just Oak Ridge High School football, but we got to reinvent youth football here in this town. We've now got good leadership down at the Boys and Girls Club. We really need to bring back youth football to the Boys and Girls Club. That is, let's just say that leadership before them maybe let some things slide. I don't know. I wasn't here. I don't know. But a lot of parents started taking their kids outside of Oak Ridge to go play for other teams in youth ball. And we got to get them back here.
Mm.
Oak Ridge is a place that should never play second fiddle to anybody. And that includes our youth programs and our middle school programs. If we can take a systematic approach to winning here, if there's ever a place to do that, great, it's here. So I would just encourage people to get back involved. We need quality men down there coaching these youth kids, and so the parents feel comfortable bringing their kids back to the Boys and Girls Club and know that they're going to be taken care of. And we got great equipment down there, all brand new helmets, brand new shoulder pads and uniforms, and we've got the good people in charge of it now. But we need to get people back.
There you go. I like it. Well, I'm excited to see how this all unfolds for you this fall, Coach. Good luck this summer. We'll reconnect, I'm sure, in the not too distant future. But thank you for making the time today. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, brother. I appreciate you having